$3.2 million. That's what the Los Angeles Unified School District wired to a vendor in 11 months. A vendor whose core product, an AI-powered student mental health platform, had never been independently verified, never passed a third-party audit, and according to the FBI's warrant application, may not have functioned as advertised at all. On the morning of March 18th, federal agents executed a search warrant at the Bel Air residence of Dr. Patricia Olmeda, superintendent of the second-largest school district in the United States. Simultaneously, agents entered the downtown Los Angeles offices of Cognitive Bridge Solutions, the edtech startup at the center of the investigation. This is the story of how an AI scam moved from a pitch deck to a federal criminal case inside one of the most scrutinized public institutions in America. LAUSD serves over 600,000 students across more than 1,000 schools. Its annual budget exceeds $9 billion, making it one of the largest public expenditure entities in California. Following the pandemic, the district received approximately $4.7 billion in federal emergency relief funds under the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Program. The mandate was broad: address learning loss, mental health, and infrastructure gaps. The oversight, according to federal investigators, was not Cognitive Bridge Solutions was founded in 2022 by two former Google employees, Marcus Wen and Sofia Alvarez. Their product, branded as MindBridge, was marketed as an AI-driven early intervention system that could identify students at risk for depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation by analyzing patterns in student portal activity, attendance records, and teacher-submitted behavioral flags. The pitch was compelling. Post-pandemic mental health in schools had become a national crisis. Districts were under pressure to act, and MindBridge came with a polished interface, a library of case studies, and a direct line to the superintendent's office. According to the federal indictment unsealed this week, that direct line was the problem. Internal LAUSD communications recovered by investigators show that Dr. Olmeda's chief of staff, Raymond Castillo, introduced Cognitive Bridge Solutions to district procurement officials in February 2023. Standard procurement for a contract of this size required competitive bidding, independent technical review, and board approval. None of those steps happened. Instead, the contract was structured as a series of smaller purchase orders, each below the threshold requiring board sign-off. 11 purchase orders, ranging from $240,000 to $310,000 each. Total disbursements to Cognitive Bridge Solutions between March 2023 and February 2024, $3.2 million. The FBI's investigation began after a whistleblower inside LAUSD's Information Technology Department filed a complaint with the district's Office of Inspector General in November 2024. The complaint alleged that MindBridge had been deployed across 47 schools in the district, but when the IT department attempted to conduct a routine integration audit, they discovered something that should not have been possible. The platform's backend infrastructure was running on a shared commercial cloud server with no dedicated data processing capacity. The AI models that MindBridge claimed were running continuous analysis on student behavioral data were not operational. The system was generating static reports populated with templated language, not live machine learning outputs. In simple terms, the AI did not exist. What existed was a dashboard, a convincing, well-designed dashboard that displayed charts, risk scores, and intervention recommendations. But the numbers behind those displays were not being generated by any algorithm. They were being generated by a template engine that rotated pre-written language based on manually entered inputs from school counselors. MindBridge was not an AI system. It was a form builder with a premium interface and a $3.2 million price tag. The whistleblower complaint was forwarded to the FBI's Public Corruption Unit in January 2025. A 14-month investigation followed. What investigators found went beyond a software scam. Financial records obtained through court order showed that Cognitive Bridge Solutions had disbursed approximately $840,000 to a consulting firm called Pacific Advisory Group between April 2023 and December 2023. Pacific Advisory Group had one registered employee, Raymond Castillo, the same Raymond Castillo who served as Dr. Olmeda's chief of staff and who had introduced Cognitive Bridge Solutions to district procurement officials 2 months before the first purchase order was signed. The payments to Pacific Advisory Group were structured as consulting fees for market research and stakeholder engagement services. The FBI found no evidence that any services were actually rendered. Bank records showed the funds were transferred directly from the Pacific Advisory Group account to a personal account held jointly by Castillo and a family member within an average of 4 business days of receipt. Dr. Olmeda's personal finances showed no direct payments from Cognitive Bridge Solutions or any of its affiliated entities. But investigators flagged 3 items: a 2-week private villa rental in Tuscany in July 2023, booked and paid for by Marcus Wen and listed as a business development expense in Cognitive Bridge's records; a $40,000 donation to a nonprofit foundation chaired by Dr. Olmeda's spouse, made by Alvarez in October 2023, and a consulting arrangement between Olmeda's adult son and a Cognitive Bridge subcontractor worth $112,000 for work that investigators have so far been unable to document. None of this proves that Olmeda knew the platform was fraudulent. The indictment does not charge her with fraud. She has been charged with honest services wire fraud and conspiracy to commit procurement fraud charges that turn on whether she used her public position to benefit herself or associates rather than the institution she served. Wen and Alvarez face the more serious charges: wire fraud, major fraud against a federally funded program, false statements to federal investigators. Combined, they face up to 45 years if convicted on all counts. The 600,000 students who were supposedly being monitored by MindBridge for mental health risk signals were never actually monitored. Whatever intervention data the district believed it was receiving was fabricated. Whether any student experienced a preventable crisis during the 14 months the system was falsely operational is a question investigators say they cannot answer. That unanswered question may be the most important part of this case, because the argument for AI-powered mental health tools in schools rests on the premise that earlier detection saves lives. If a district believes that detection is happening and acts accordingly, reducing counselor staffing or deprioritizing manual screening, and the detection is not actually happening, the result is a gap in protection for the most vulnerable population in the system. The Department of Education's Office of Inspector General has opened a parallel review of how ESSER funds were spent across 12 additional districts that contracted with edtech vendors for similar AI-based programs between 2021 and 2024. The scope of that review is not limited to California. This is not an isolated case. It is a signal. When billions of federal dollars flow into public systems under emergency conditions, with reduced oversight and accelerated procurement timelines, the people who understand how to navigate those systems do not always use that knowledge to help students. Sometimes they use it to write themselves 11 purchase orders and book a villa in Tuscany. The investigation continues. This is Federal Watch Network.